The FMO, also known as Field Marketing Organization for the Medicare agent, has a bit of a checkered past. Historically, FMOs have not always been the most honest with their agents. This comes in a multitude of different forms, but over the years, as Medicare agents have started to build up online communities, myself being a pioneer of that, with our Facebook group, 7-Figure Medicare Agent, close to eclipsing 10,000 active members, it has become harder and harder for FMOs to sweep things under the rug and keep things behind the curtain and really not lean on transparency as a way of doing business. But historically, FMOs typically will not be honest with you in many cases if they don't have to. In this video, I'm going to walk through with you how you can tell if your FMO is trying to pull a fast one or, for less intensive purposes, rip you off. Let's jump in. One thing that I still see pretty regularly when it comes to agents is the FMO setting them up in incorrect hierarchy situations. Maybe they're selling for carriers themselves and getting paid commission, or maybe they have a small team of agents and they're supposed to be getting overrides on those agent sales and also their own sales as the way things are structured at the time of recording this video. And maybe they're coming from the FMO instead of the carrier directly. Now, there are some carriers, typically smaller regional carriers, where they set things up that commissions themselves on sales will come through the FMO. These are very few and far between situations, and they're becoming fewer and fewer as most carriers are building out systems and internal structures to be able to have internal hierarchy commissions paid out to the agents directly. But you see it also very commonly with people that build small teams and the overrides are coming directly from the FMO instead of from the carrier. Now, there are carriers that will run the overrides through an FMO. It's not to say that this is unheard of, but sometimes they'll be set up with carriers that it's not meant to be that way, or they don't pay the overrides through the FMO. And typically what this means is, let's say there's a carrier that typically will build out a hierarchy for you and they will pay out the overrides direct, which is what you want if that's an option with a carrier. If you do have a small team of agents, maybe there's a carrier that historically they don't do things that way and they will pay you direct, but things are running through the FMO. I see this all the time where the agent thinks they're at a higher contract level because they're getting these overrides, but when it comes to being with the carrier, they are at a street level contract in many cases, and their agents are not connected to them at all with the hierarchy. Now, like I said, some carriers require this to be that way to where they run commissions through the FMO. And in that case, there's really not too much the FMO can do. But again, there's probably just as many carriers, if not more, that will pay the agents directly. What this means is if you ever want to leave that FMO, they have all control over your overrides. Now, a lot of the FMOs, I would like to think, will continue to pay your overrides if you choose to leave, but they don't have to necessarily. Whereas if you're getting paid directly from the carrier, well, the FMO doesn't have a lot of control over that. Also, when you want to move with a lot of Medicare Advantage carriers, if you move FMOs, your agents will move with you. It's an easy thing. You get a release, you recontract, and your entire agency moves with you. But if you're street level and your agents are all not aligned to you and they're aligned directly to the FMO and they're building out an override system for you, you need to get a separate release and recontract every single agent. It just puts more power and control in the hands of the FMO and less in your hands. So those are things to watch out for. If you're ever curious about any specific carriers and how they should be set up, reach out. We're happy to provide that information to you, whether you work with our organization or not. One thing that FMOs have historically lied about, you're seeing less and less of it because of forced online transparency with groups and communities, but lies about requirements for certain levels.
Oh, come on!
An example to this is if somebody wants typically a GA contract, also known as a general agent contract on Medicare Advantage carriers. For the most part, there are a few exceptions nowadays, but for most of the major national carriers, you typically just need one agent contracted underneath you that's not yourself. You need somebody in your hierarchy, somebody in your downline that's not you. FMOs historically have told lies and fibs that you need 3, 4, 5. Now, like I said, there are 2 national carriers now over the past couple of years that have changed this requirement and added 3. But the vast majority of them, you just need one that's not yourself. That is typically the carrier's requirement for you to be able to be placed at a GA contract level. Remember, GA contract level means something entirely different with the majority of Medicare supplement and ancillary carriers as it does with Medicare Advantage carriers. But I've seen situations where an FMO will tell someone, yes, you need 5 agents to be a GA. They have that policy internally, but they will make it sound like or hint that it is the policy of the carrier, which is a blatant falsity. It's a lie for all intents and purposes. And the agent might take some time to be able to obtain those 5 agents. And in the meantime, all the agents that they're working hard, training, supporting, all the overrides are going directly to the FMO. It turns into a really nasty business. And there are still some FMOs today that routinely tell agents this lie. We see it all the time, and it's a very tricky thing to run into. You have to be very careful when it comes to picking your FMOs because there are a lot of tricky situations and shyster tactics that are used still routinely despite all the online transparency. An extremely common thing we'll hear FMOs say is, our tech is the best tech. Our technology is life-changing for our agents. When in reality, it's the same tech that every FMO is providing. Let me explain what I mean by that. There are 4 platforms, 4 very commonly used technology platforms that all or the vast majority of FMOs will use in some kind of capacity. Number 1 being Sunfire, number 2 being Connecture, number 3 being CSG Actuarial, and number 4 being a Go High Level system. Let me walk through each one of these one by one. Sunfire and Connecture are 2 competing technology platforms that do online quoting for all the carriers you have with that FMO. It's built to be kind of an all-in-one thing, so you don't have to go to a bunch of different carrier websites to be able to run quotes and do enrollments. They allow you to do scope of appointments. It's very handy. Very, very, very handy. At this point, it's become almost like an industry standard to where an FMO doesn't have that available to their agents at no cost. It's almost like they can't compete. Now, FMOs will pick up both of these platforms or one of these platforms. They do very similar things to each other. So sometimes FMOs look at it and they deem that maybe they need one and not the other. But like Integrity FMOs, for example, they have both because both are built into Medicare Center. But most FMOs will take these platforms, they'll pay for them for all their agents as they should do, but they'll white label them and call them something else so you don't realize that they're Sunfire or Connecture. Now, for those of us that are seasoned in this industry, you can recognize the look of the software because it's not proprietary to that FMO. It is white labeled, so it looks the same as any other Sunfire that you get from any other FMO, and they just white label it and call it something different. But for those of you that aren't as up on this type of information, you might think that it is their proprietary software that you can only get from them. And if you leave them, you lose access to that software, where in reality, you can get it realistically with 99% of any FMO you can work with. So it's a bit of a two-faced kind of statement to say we have the best technology when in reality you have the same technology that everyone has. CSG Actuarial does similar things to Connecture and Sunfire. CSG Actuarial does online quoting. It's mostly used for Medicare supplement products, final expense products, ancillary products, things like that. It can do more things other than that, but that is what it's most commonly mainstream known for. Most FMOs will have that available for your use as well at no cost in this current day and age. The 4th one is Go High Level. Go High Level is a CRM that allows you to white label it and offer it to agents. You're seeing more and more groups and more FMOs start to provide a white labeled version of Go High Level, meaning it's the same as any Go High Level. They just customize templates, automations, email templates, landing pages, things like that for your use. But the software in and of itself is the same and has all the same capabilities unless they bring in some third-party tool that they put into their system for you to be able to use. But Go High Level is Go High Level. We use a Go High Level white labeled CRM internally for our agents. We call it 7-figure CRM, but there are tons of CRMs that FMOs and contracting groups will provide these days, and it ends up just being a white labeled Go High Level. And they make it sound like it's something that you can't get anywhere else. It's proprietary, and they built it internally, and it is just a two-faced lie through and through. Another thing you'll see FMOs say is our agents are killing it. Now, don't get me wrong, that is something that you want to hear from an FMO. You want to know that other people are doing good with their training, with their support, with their infrastructure. But that being said, what FMOs typically will do is, let's say they have 5,000 agents, 10,000 agents or more, they might have a vast majority of them doing very little, if nothing at all. I know this to be a fact. And they might have a very small percentage, maybe 1% that are doing very well, or 4 or 5% that are doing very well, that matches industry standards. And they will select a couple of their golden children and use them as examples. Look how good Tom is doing. Look how good John is doing. Billy wrote 500 applications in his second year in the business, right? When in reality, these people are hardworking, talented, smart, gifted, and they probably would do well anywhere that they were with, right? But they make it seem like it's because of them. Now, don't get me wrong. With our organization, for example, we have tons of agents that are doing very well, and we're very proud of them, and we're proud to be partnered with them. And we like to believe that we're a small part of their success, but we believe that they are mostly responsible for their success. And that's the truth with any FMO that you can find out there. So a lot of times, just because they show you 1 or 2 situations of people doing good, there's probably 500 to 1,000 situations where people are struggling and will fail out of the business relatively shortly in a few years' time frame for every one good situation they'll provide to you. Industry standards show, and any FMO that says that this isn't the case for them, I don't believe it. None of them have ever publicly proven this when they make these kind of claims. But industry standards show mid to high 90% fail, no matter who the FMO is, and the agent has to do their part. Anybody that's doing really well, the agent's done their part. The FMO did not provide them with some magical, thing that allowed them to propel themselves. The FMO has a job to do. Don't get me wrong. Their job is to support you. Their job is to provide this tech that you can get anywhere else. Their job is to provide you with additional things. Like for us internally, we provide our CRM. We provide an amazing training platform. We provide weekly trainings. We provide updates on things going on in the industry. We provide very heavily discounted leads with our internal lead platform called Lead Heroes. But at the end of the day, if the agent's not doing their part, none of it matters. And that is the truth no matter which FMO you sign with, no matter how much they try to gas you up. Another misconception that FMOs typically lean on, this is typically FMOs that focus very regionally in a certain area. We will connect you with your carrier reps and get you plugged in with your carrier reps locally here. I got a news flash for you. It does not matter who your FMO is. If you take the initiative to reach out to your carrier reps, you can get in touch with them and build a relationship with them regardless of who your FMO is. It doesn't matter, right? But that is a carrot that FMOs use, especially local and regional ones, to get agents to sign with them. Oh, you don't want to work with this FMO who's out of state. We're local here in the state. We're right here. You'll be able to sit down with us. The reality is you'll probably never sit down with them, if maybe only a couple times. Your FMO using that as a carrot, if that's kind of their big selling point, will get you connected with your carrier reps. You could do that yourself. The last thing I hear FMOs say that just makes me roll my eyes is, we'll get you put in retail locations, like Kroger stores, like Walmart, things like this. Those stores, for every one person that does well, and if all the stars align, they're in a great location, they work extremely hard, they're there all the time, that kind of thing. For every one person, one agent that does good on those, there's 100 to 200 agents that write 5 apps or less. It is a fact, while putting tons of time in. If that is their main suggestion for how you're going to grow your business, turn and run the other way. It's a statistic now that 99.999% of retail locations are not worth the time you put into them. You could go outside and scream in the parking lot, hey, let me help you with your insurance. Let me help you with your Medicare, and get in touch with more people than sitting in the retail location in most cases. So every time I talk about this, there's always the 1 out of 200 or so that comes out of the WordWorks and says, I did great at my location. Not to say that it's impossible, but you're the exception, not the rule. And if that's the best your FMO has to provide to you, if that's their only suggestion for you, they don't have much suggestions on how you can grow. What do you guys think? Did I miss anything? Are these things you've heard before or seen before in the industry from FMOs. Give me your thoughts down in the comments section. What do you feel like we missed, like I said earlier, about FMOs? What are some additional things you've heard that end up being cliches that you see over and over again that are just kind of make you roll your eyes? We'd love to kind of hear your thoughts about it. Make sure to smash the like button. Make sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm so more agents just like you who can find this information easier. Make sure to subscribe. We'll put out weekly videos to help you grow your business. And if you'd like to get in touch with us about being your FMO, if maybe you're not happy where you are, I feel like we provide a really, really good system and all-around training and support for our agents. We have a lot of happy agents. Reach out to us. Comment down below. We can reach out to you that way, or shoot us an email at contracting@eseniorins.com. Again, that's contracting@esenior, like a senior citizen, INS insurance. It's short for Everything Senior Insurance, eseniorins.com. You can also see the email address and our phone number down in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate your support as always, and we'll see you on the next one. Here's to your massive success. Thanks, everybody.